This video is brought to you by America First Insight. Help support the growing conservative movement by becoming a member today. And if you want to support this channel, you can also use the code REAL when becoming a member. Thank you and enjoy the video. Well, we just received some breaking news out in the state of Texas as a little while ago. Congressman Wesley Hunt of Texas's 38th District just announced he is running for the U.S. Senate in 2026. And we've been hearing rumors and speculation about this for a couple weeks now. Well, now we can confirm that, yes, he is running. It's no longer just speculation. He is running for the U.S. Senate in 2026. And this is a major shakeup in what is a very competitive primary, because before Wesley Hunt announced, we already had a brutal primary between the incumbent John Cornyn, who is awful, by the way, one of the worst senators out there, versus Ken Paxton. And Ken Paxton is phenomenal on the issues. He's a great attorney general, he knows what he's doing, and he understands what the base wants. So yeah, Ken Paxton is great on the issues, he's nearly perfect, while John Cornyn, he's the same dumbass that voted for gun control as a senator from Texas. That's what we're dealing with here. John Cornyn is awful. But the problem for Paxton has always been the scandals. The skeletons in his closet have always been the big issue. And that's no different this cycle, because the reason that this race is even that competitive, even though Ken Paxton is great on the issues, he's a statewide official, people like him, the big issue for him is he just had a divorce with his wife, and allegedly it was over an affair, which if this was 30 to 40 years ago, that would be the end of his campaign. We do live in a different America, though. People don't really care that much about it, though. You do look at the polling, and yeah, Paxton has gone down by a decent margin. He's gone down from being in the mid-50s. I mean, it looked like he was going to absolutely kill John Cornyn. I mean, he was at 52%, 56%. John Cornyn wasn't even cracking 40%. And the funny thing is, Cornyn is still doing awful for an incumbent. Yes, it's slightly up compared to 5 months ago, but look at this. 4 or 5 months ago, he was in the high 20s, low 30s, and some polls actually had him in the mid 30s. But now he is consistently at 35%. 36, 37, even some polls still have him at 32%. So yeah, he's gone up a little bit, but he's the incumbent. He shouldn't be at 35%. The problem for Paxton is he went down by a bunch. A couple months ago, he was at 50%, 43, 52, 52, 50. He was basically cracking 50% in every poll. Well, now he's barely cracking 40%, if that. Some polls have him at like 26%, which I think is ludicrous. But the point is, he has gone down considerably. And listen, I like Paxton. If the scandals did not hit him, I still think, screw it, ignore the polls, ignore everything, support Paxton. But this scandal's very unique because if it's just an affair, yeah, it probably does hurt Paxton a little bit, especially in the primary. Now, people make it sound like it's America in the 1990s, where if you had this affair, you lose automatically by 80 points, which could still happen, I guess, but now you don't really have that anymore. But the issue for Paxton is we don't know how bad this really is, and that is a legitimate concern. We just don't know how bad the scandal really is, because if it's just an affair, it's bad, it hurts in the primary, but in the general, would it really stop people from voting for him? Like, honestly, I don't think so. But the rumor is, it wasn't just an affair. And listen, it's all speculation, we don't know, but you could probably guess what I'm inferring. What is a rumor going around? Which again, this is speculation, we don't know anything. We don't know for sure what's going on. And that's the thing that's kind of shitty about this, because if Paxton did something far worse, John Cornyn's people, they're not going to release that, unless it gets so bad they're forced to release it. If Ken Paxton wins a primary by a decent margin, you know what John Cornyn's campaign's going to do, and he wins a runoff? They did the same shit in North Carolina. They have this information on Paxton, and watch them give it to the Democrats in October of next year. I know it's very shitty, but that's the same thing that happened to Mark Robinson. Mark Robinson won the primary by a huge margin, and the dumbass Republicans in that state, they hated Mark Robinson so much, they were the ones that gave Democrats that scandal that killed his campaign. That's a Republican Party for you. And this is Texas. The Texas Republican Party, they're far more incompetent than in North Carolina. So yeah, that is a major concern. And that's why Wesley Hunt joining the race, I think, is actually the best case scenario. Because now we have an alternative to Ken Paxton. Now, is Wesley Hunt as good as Paxton? No. He is not in the same tier as Paxton is. But still, he's a very good Republican. Like, look at America First Insight. Look at this. He has an A score on America First Insight. He has a couple votes here and there that weren't the best, but he actually has a very strong track record in the House. He's very good on the issues. He's very in line with Trump, and he actually gets stuff done. That's what's good about Wesley Hunt. He actually has a voting record on him. John Cornyn, before 2025, had one of the worst voting records in the entire Senate. But out of nowhere, now he's the America First warrior. Gee, I wonder why. He is full of crap. He's only doing this because he knows he's going to lose a primary. But here's the thing. If he wins a primary and he wins a general, he's going back to the same old ways for the next 6 years. And you can't do a damn thing about it because more than likely, he's going to retire in 2032. So you got to stop Cornyn from winning. And listen, we just don't know with the Paxton scandal. I get that. But at some point, you just don't want John Cornyn winning. And you run the risk of, if Paxton wins a primary, which I still think he can, if the scandal's as bad as some people think it is, and if John Cornyn's campaign pulls the shit that Republicans pulled in North Carolina, that could cost us a Senate seat. Like, that's the main concern here. You don't want that happening because John Cornyn's campaign is filled with idiots like that. So, Wesley Hunt entering the race a couple months ago, that would have been shitty. But really, it doesn't really matter because it is a runoff system. So it's not the end of the world completely because, you know, if Paxton takes third and John Cornyn's not at 50, it doesn't matter because Wesley Hunt, he wins that primary. He wins the runoff by a massive margin. But if it's Paxton, it becomes a little bit closer. So, with Wesley Hunt running, which, funny enough, actually pissed off a lot of leadership, which should tell you everything, Republicans in Texas and across the board, they did not want Wesley Hunt running. And my theory is, they know Texas has runoffs. And if John Cornyn is below 50% and Paxton takes third, he's screwed. He's not going to win a runoff against Wesley Hunt because a bunch of those Paxton supporters, they're going to back Hunt. There's no way they're going to magically all break for John Cornyn. That's not going to happen. That's why it's a big deal for there to be a runoff system. And listen, I like Paxton, and if there is a runoff and he does take second place and force a runoff, vote for him there. But I think right now, unless we hear the full story about the scandal, what actually occurred, I would say if you live in Texas, you support Wesley Hunt in the first round. Because in a worst case scenario, all right, Ken Paxton takes third. Well, if John Cornyn's below 50%, he's losing that runoff. Like, he's going to lose that runoff to Wesley Hunt. And by a decent margin, probably. But if he gets over 50%, you're screwed. So right now, it doesn't really matter what percent Cornyn gets. If it's below 50, it doesn't matter. But you want to make sure you actually get a candidate that's good, like Wesley Hunt, but doesn't have the same type of scandals that Ken Paxton has. So I say, vote for Wesley Hunt in the first round. And again, I like Paxton. I think he's great on the issues, a great attorney general, but I think right now, if the scandal is as bad as some think it is, he should just drop out. Drop out of the race, support Wesley Hunt, and hopefully get a random position in the DOJ. Be the head of some random task force that nobody ever heard about, that has a lot of power. Do something good like that. Because it's a win-win. We get Paxton doing something you could argue is actually more important. Like, I don't know, going after Antifa or something like that. And you get rid of John Cornyn, and not with some shitty establishment Republican like Dan Crenshaw, you get Wesley Hunt, who's great on the issues, a good track record, and would be a good senator for Texas. That is a win-win-win scenario. You get rid of Cornyn, you still have Paxton doing good stuff, and Cornyn's replacement is actually good. It's not a downgrade by some miracle, which is a concern. Like, you don't want in 6 years where Cornyn retires and he picks his replacement. You don't want that shit. You want to make sure you defeat him now, and he's done for good. You never have to worry about him again. He can do whatever the hell he wants the next year and a half. He's gone. He is gone after this primary. So we'll see what happens in Texas. Vote for Wesley Hunt in the first round. Support him unless we hear the full story with Paxton. All right, if it comes out that the scandal is not as bad as some people think it is, which I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50 on this, but we'll just see. We shall see what happens in Texas. We got many more months ago till the primary. Wesley Hunt should get people's support right now, but whoever is in a runoff versus Cornyn, vote for them. Do not vote for John Cornyn at all. This guy would be even worse on the issues if he won re-election, because in 6 years from now, he's going to be much older, and he's probably going to retire, and he knows it. So why the hell would he care what the voters of Texas think? If he votes with Democrats 100% of the time the next 6 years, there's no recall system. You can't get rid of Cornyn at all. So focus on defeating Cornyn, see how it goes, see what the scandals are looking like, but right now, just get behind Wesley Hunt for the first round. Unless something crazy occurs, because again, you just want to make sure you don't have a bullshit runoff with Ken Paxton and Cornyn, where John Cornyn finally drops the big bombshell that Ken Paxton did something really bad, which we don't know. It is a risky thing. Like, do you run the risk of Ken Paxton having no real scandal? But it's kind of hard to say because it is Paxton. It seems like every day with this guy, there's a new major scandal, most of which turns out to be bullshit. But still, that's the thing with Paxton. It seems like every other day, there's a random new scandal he gets into that sounds really bad, but most of the time it's not. But then you don't really know, hey, maybe this one's legitimately bad. What do? I just say screw it. Support Wesley Hunt right now. I love Paxton. Just force their runoff with Cornyn and go from there. That's all that matters. Defeating John Cornyn. Do not let him win. Again, you don't want this turning into Kentucky where Mitch McConnell is able to essentially pick his replacement, though that might be backfiring. You don't want the same thing happening in Texas where John Cornyn picks, like, I don't know, Dan Crenshaw, and you can't beat him in a primary because every Texas Republican's backing him. You don't want that. You want to prevent that shit from happening, and this is the best time to do it. Cornyn is hated by the base. Nobody likes him. Just vote for Wesley Hunt right now. Unless, again, something crazy occurs. Maybe the scandal's fake. Just whatever Paxton has and it's not bad, he should just admit to everything. Just admit what it is. Get out of the way right now. Have a drop in the polls for a couple weeks and go back to normal. Because if it's not that bad, who cares? Who cares at this point? It's not the 1990s where an affair kills your campaign. It's still bad, but it's not the end of the world for him. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.